everyone, it's Michael with Long Way Travels, and I'm decided to do another video on member airline programs. I had such a great response on my American AA Advantage and also United Mileage Plus program that I felt like let's do another video. And this time we're focusing on another United States-based airline, Southwest Airlines, and their Rapid Rewards Program. Southwest Airlines is based in Dallas, Texas, and it does a variety of routes in the United States and has a little bit of international as well. Destinations that include Cancun, Aruba, and Costa Rica. So as usual, members can earn Rapid Reward points through a various of ways, and we're going to stick, obviously you can do with flying, shop and dine portals, specialty programs, and even these partner programs. But as you know in all my videos, we're going to focus mainly on the flights and the credit cards. So let's talk about Southwest Airlines and how you board your flight. So technically, you can choose any seat you want on Southwest Airlines. As Luke Points and Miles would say, it's like herding cattle as you get on that plane. So let's start with the beginning here. So as you know, with any flight, to check in your flight, it's about 24 hours from your departure date, right? So that's how it works with Southwest as well. The key is that the quicker you check in your flight, the more likely chance you get to choose your seat. As a result, after checking in the quicker you can on Southwest, you're assigned a letter group, such as A, B, C, D, with A meaning the first group to board the plane. One thing that's in consideration is your status. If you have A-list preferred or A-list, which is one of the higher statuses, or even getting early bird option, you have the ability to board faster than the general public when it comes to Southwest Airlines. So let's say you're an A group and you checked in early. Well, the way it works is that they start lining you up, as you can see here. It goes from numbers 1 through 30 and 31 through 60. And of course, B group would come up after that subsequently with 1 through 30 and 31 through 60. And you would board numerically, basically. And that's how you get to choose your seat and be on the plane first for Southwest Airlines. So let's talk about here. We got Rapid Rewards earning formula. So across the board here, this is a base member fare, which we'll talk about soon once we get to earning rates. So let's talk about it. 2 bags fly free. That basically means about checked bags. So any fare, any type of tier, you're going to get 2 checked bags, up to, I believe, 50 pounds for Southwest. As for no fees to cancel or change, that basically means that you don't get charged a fee to change your flight or cancel it. And that's great too, because a lot of carriers now do charge, extra fees to change your flight or even cancel. As for flight credit, if you cancel, this mainly applies to the fact that when you cancel a flight, instead of getting no money back, you actually get flight credit into your Rapid Rewards account, which you can use for other flights. So that's a pretty cool perk there. Free same-day standby basically means that you can be, on standby for an earlier flight, and Southwest won't charge you an extra fee for getting that earlier flight. But with free standby and free same-day change, if you do get a new flight, you will be charged those taxes and fees that apply. If you get a more expensive flight as well, when it comes to those same-day changes, you just won't be charged a fee to change your flight. As for transferable flight credit for Rapid Reward members, this is cool as well, and if you can see on the chart here, this does not apply to Wanna Get Away fare, which is the cheapest fare, and we'll talk about that as well. But basically that means that when you get credit from a flight from cancellation, you can transfer those flight credits to another Rapid Reward of your choice, and to my knowledge, that's a free thing to do. As we get to a more perks here, refundable only applies to Anytime and Business Select members, and that basically means you get your money back for a flight you cancel. As for the lower tier flights, you will get flight credit, as I've talked about. As for Priority Lane and Express Lane, which applies to the upper tier Anytime Business Select, it's pretty simple. You get priority on checking your bags and get on the plane quicker. And to segue that automatic check-in. For Anytime flyers, you get the early bird, which basically means you get checked in about 36 hours before your departure of your flight. As for Business Select, you're going to get that A1 to A15 priority boarding, which I will discuss and actually in the next segment. And for premium drink, you get a drink now for Business Select for flights 176 miles or more. And spoiler alert, 2024, you actually get more. Free in-flight internet for Business Select, and I want to make this very clear. If anyone has flown Southwest, you do get certain internet access for any type of fare, like for messaging and using the app. But when we mean in-flight internet, we're basically talking about surfing the web. So that's the one perk for Business Select. All right, so let's move on to those earning rates, as I mentioned. Southwest Rapid Rewards members, their points program starts from a calendar year, so January to December. As I mentioned, the fare types. If we're talking about base members such as myself, we start with Want to Get Away. Well, that's 6 points per dollar spent. And here's an example how much you would pay for that kind of rate. As we move on to the second type of fare, Want to Get Away Plus, that's 8 points per dollar spent. And of course, we're talking about Anytime Fare is next, and that is 10 points per dollar spent. Finally, we're at Business Select. That is a 12 points per dollar spent for a base member. Certain qualifying activity when it comes to getting status, we call it tier qualifying points. And activities such as basically booking flights to Southwest and using money, which is the key, paying for flight, will qualify you for getting that A-list status and A-list preferred, which are the member tier names for Southwest. Now, of course, on the flip side, activity does not count towards tier qualifying status or points is basically like award travel or getting points from, and I haven't discussed this yet, but you can actually transfer Rapid Reward points from Chase Rewards members. So anything that basically doesn't allow you to spend money, you're not qualified for getting tier status with Southwest. A-list is the first member tier that actually gives you perks. I forgot to mention that member does not get any perks. But for A-list, you need 25 one-way flights or 35,000 tier qualifying points. And here's the example I'm going to show you. I'm a base member, but just show you to break down how the points work. And you can see here, I took a round trip flight from Atlanta to Jacksonville. That counts as 2 one-way segments. So I have 2 one-way flights towards A-list status. And then you can see here, in regard for the cost, they break it down by each one-way fare. So because my cost came out to like $170, $180, they broke it down in half. So $90-ish times 6. And you can see here, I got 500-ish points per leg of the flight towards tier qualifying status. So with A-list here, the earning rates are 25% more than a base member. So it's very easy. So when we talk about Want to Get Away, you're going to be getting 7.5 points per dollar spent. And then we talk about Want to Get Away Plus, we're going to talk about 10 points per dollar spent. And of course, as we move up with Anytime, you're going to get 12.5 points per dollar spent. And for Business Select, you're going to get 15 points per dollar spent. A-list preferred is a top tier status, and it requires you to get 50 one-way flights or 70,000 tier qualifying points. So with the earning rates for A-list preferred, let's start with the cheapest one, Want to Get Away. You're going to earn 12 points per dollar spent because you know why? It's at 100% rate over the base member. As for Want to Get Away Plus, we're talking about 16 points per dollar spent. And then for Anytime, we're talking about 20 points per dollar spent. And finally for Business Select, we're talking about 24 points per dollar spent. As I mentioned here, we're going to go with the perks now. Basic members get no perks. And because they give so much already with their fares, they don't provide that much. But I'm going to try to give you what you feel like is worth it in getting status for Southwest. For A-list, you're going to get priority boarding and priority check-in. And also you're going to be getting basically same-day changes, which we mentioned in fare types, where you're not charging an extra fee. As for A-list preferred, I've mentioned this in the fare types, but we'll go over it very briefly. You get that 100% earning rate over a base member, and then you get the, in-flight internet, and then the complimentary alcoholic drinks on a flight for 176 miles or more. Just remember here that you can use Rapid Reward points, which is different from tier qualifying points. Rapid Reward points you can use for award travel to book Southwest flights. So another way to use those points to get flights and not spend any money. But guess what? We're on to that portion now. Do Southwest credit cards help you with status? Does it help with the perks? What do they do? Well, let's talk about it right now. Interesting enough, Southwest cards are, guess what? They're Visa and Chase cards. Another thing I told you earlier in the segment is that Chase Ultimate Rewards are the only credit card issuer that you can actually transfer your points to Southwest to book flights. And they're also transferred at a 1-to-1 ratio. So the first card we're going to talk about is the Southwest Rapid Rewards Plus credit card. Welcome offers are all the same across the board for the personal cards. And it's 50,000 Rapid Reward points in 1,000 spent in 3 months. Annual fee is $69, and welcome offers can be reused every 2 years for the personal cards, whereas the business cards don't have that restriction. To show you the value of 50,000 Rapid Reward points, I found a flight here where it's going to cost you about 36,000 Rapid Reward points from Baltimore to LAX, and that's Business Select. You only have to be responsible for the tax and fees, which is a couple bucks, but only 36,000 points for a flight that costs about $600. That's pretty good. And you also have 14,000 point range, which you can actually book another one-way flight if you want. So showing the value of how much 50,000 points cost for Rapid Reward members. So let's talk about the perks here. So for this credit card, you get a 3,000 Rapid Rewards anniversary perk. And you got basically a 2x multiplier across the board on Southwest purchases, transit, internet, car rental, select streaming, and it's a very interesting card. Not high, but 25% back on in-flight purchases on Southwest flights. You get two upgradable features for early bird check-in we talked about, which basically allows you to check in up to 24 to 36 hours before your flight departure. You get a 10,000 point boost for a companion pass, which we'll talk about after you spend a certain amount of money on your Southwest credit card. Next card we're going to talk about is called the Southwest Rapid Rewards Credit Card. Same welcome of 50,000 points, higher annual fee of $99, but also includes no foreign transaction fees. So with the anniversary one, you're going to get 6,000 points instead of 3,000. You're going to get an elevated multiplier of 3x on Southwest purchases, but the same 2x multiplier on streaming and other rentals and transportation perks, or at least for Southwest. You're also going to get the same 10,000 point boost for a companion pass. You're going to get the same 25% back on in-flight purchases, and you're also going to get that stack of 2x early bird options per. And here it is. You actually get 1,500 tier qualifying points towards status if you can spend $10,000 on this credit card for the year. So the next card is called the Southwest Rapid Rewards Priority Credit Card, and same welcome offer, but higher annual fee. So this one's interesting here. You get a 7,500 anniversary points bonus. You also get the 3x on Southwest purchases and the same 2x multiplier on all the transit purchases we mentioned already. You also get the 25% back on in-flight purchases and that same 10,000 points boost towards a companion pass. Interesting enough, you don't get the 2x early bird options because they upgraded that act. So you actually get 4x times of upgrade options, which is about a $30 to $80 fee when you do it by yourself. And you can actually use these upgrade options honestly on one flight, or you can use it on separate bookings. So one of the perks as well is 1,500 tier qualifying points after you spend $10,000 with this credit card towards qualifying status such as A-list or A-list preferred, and you get a $75 statement credit for using that card, which is travel credit basically for this card. So we found out that at least 2 of the 3 personal cards for Southwest do help you with not only companion pass, which we'll talk about really soon, but also for A-list status qualification. Of course, it requires you to spend $10,000, which I think that's, as you've seen with a lot of my videos, that is kind of at least the starting point when gaining status with an airline. Alright, so companion pass is as it seems. Basically, you can book a flight, you tag someone as your partner, and they can fly with you for no cost. Of course, you are responsible for the tax and fees, but hey, I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Well, how do we get that companion pass? Well, for Southwest, it's going to cost you either 100 flights, basically one-way flights, or 135,000 tier qualifying points. Like I said, I think with traveling with Southwest is a great perk to try to use if you live near a hub and you really think you can utilize having a player 2 in your setup. So one thing to consider, and here's a strategy that a lot of people consider when it comes to getting this companion pass for Southwest. So as you know here, one of the well-known strategies of getting companion pass is by, well, using the welcome offers provided. And generally the way to do it is to grab welcome offer from the personal card and from the business card, which I did not discuss. But basically, because the welcome offer for the personal card is 50,000 points, and then the business is 80,000 points, that's 130,000 points right there. And basically, once you meet the spend on one of those cards, you already can get that 5,000 extra points, and there you've met your companion pass. And at least for strategy, here's the graphic here, but basically, you want to plot, like if we want to maximize the companion pass, because the way it works with the time frame is that you would get companion pass for the year you qualify and then year after. So strategy wise, to utilize companion pass the best for this year, for example, is to get it very late this year, get one card after the other, and then make sure you complete the welcome offers and the points by early 2024. That way you get companion pass for, let's say, the rest of January, February 2024, and all of 2025. And just like we mentioned with tier qualifying points, activity that counts toward companion pass is pretty simple. Fly on Southwest flights, use their credit card, spend money, blah, blah, blah. Activity does not count towards companion pass, award travel, any type of using some points from Chase credit cards, basically, if you don't spend money, you're not going to get qualified for companion pass. Lastly, here's a chart of how you want to designate your companion. There's a phone number you need to call and all the specifications that need going on with companion pass for Southwest. And lastly, very interesting coincidentally that I did this video and knowing Southwest just came out with changes for 2024, and guess what? They're positive. I mean positive. So let's start with the first change here. And remember that spend about the tier qualifying points on the credit card? Remember how I said it was $10,000? Well, for 2024, they cut it in half to $5,000 spend. So you only need to make $5,000 spend on a credit card for Southwest to earn that 1,500 tier qualifying points towards status. And here's a graphic here. You're probably wondering what's going on here. Well, the current display is that you can either book flights through Rapid Reward points or cash. 2024, they're going to introduce that option where you see there's a third option. You know what it's going to be? Points and cash. So another interesting thing here is if you're short on points and you want to throw a little cash into your flight, Southwest will do that option now going forward for 2024. In regards for A-list status, we know it is 25 flights for 2023. But how about this? For 2024, they're going to do you solid and go to 21-way flights for 2024. So a reduction of 5 flights now. And now we're talking about A-list preferred. So right now, the flights to get that status in 2023 is 50. But in 2024, they're going to do you a solid and do 40. So now you get a production of 10 flights, which is actually an advantage of you guys. So I want everyone to know, what do you think about these changes for 2024? It's pretty interesting. I want to thank everyone for joining in and getting to the end of this video. I really appreciate you staying in and listening to all the content I am bringing forward. It just seems that right now that you guys like the content I've been writing on these airline membership programs. And guess what? If I get more positive feedback, I will continue to dive in more of these programs, as I think it's very important to understand the perks and benefits of trying to earn status in these airline programs. I want to say, as I say in all my videos, remember, if you like this content, be sure to like, share, subscribe going forward. As I say in all my videos, life is short, travel more, everyone. And here's some clips of my recent road trip in Texas.